Welcome, friends, to another episode of Your Business Story. Today, we are going to talk about something that is extremely important, and it's a question that a lot of people ask me, and there's so much confusion around it. That's right, we're going to talk about business messaging and the two most important changes that you need to make to your business messaging starting right now. Let's do this. So what is business messaging? Let's start there, right? That's a good place to start. There are so many complicated answers out there, and honestly, a lot of them are wrong. They might be talking about a business messaging app, which is totally different than what I mean when I say business messaging. And then there are people out there who are not copywriters, they're not in marketing, and they don't even know how to explain what business messaging is yet. They are out there in the world trying to explain something they themselves don't understand. And that's why I'm here with you, because I want you to understand what it means when I say business messaging and what business messaging can do for your business. So, we're going to talk about the definition right now. We all know what business is. It's this thing, right? It's a way for people to make money and provide goods and services, products, offers, and to use their expertise to make the world a better place. That's why I love working with business owners. So since you already know what the word business means, it's going to be easy once I explain what messaging means for you to put those two together and bling, bling, bloom. There you go. There's your definition. So the word messaging actually refers to your message. I know that part. It wasn't hard for you to figure out. But what is your message made out of? It's made out of words you use to talk about your business. But unlike other normal words, your business message needs to sound the same. Anytime your business talks, it needs to sound like the same entity, which can be a little tricky considering that your business is usually made up of different people. And even if your business is made up of one person, you're a solopreneur, you change over time too, right? And that's why we need some kind of report or something like that, a document that can help us understand what our business messaging should sound like, because we change over time, we bring other people in, and the business still needs to sound the same. So the good business messaging does the job of building a foundation of consistency that lets your ideal clients get to know your business, aka you, and trust your business over time. It's hard for people to trust something that's not another person, and that's why you need to show up as the face of your business, even if it means when you're talking in your business voice, you sound a little different than you normally would, and I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. So without trust, and remember, it's hard for people to trust entities. They need to trust a person. Without that trust, no one is ever going to feel comfortable paying to work with you. In fact, things are so competitive now that even if you give away something, if your messaging isn't consistent, people won't be interested. Even complimentary classes and packages take up time, which is precious. And if the person you want to help doesn't trust you, they will not be willing to invest that time with you. Remember, time is not a renewable resource. You can never get more of it. So simply put, all right, let's boil it down. Good messaging is made up of carefully chosen words that represent your business in a consistent way and communicate about your ideas, products, services, etc. When you have a large company that needs to follow one set of business messaging, we throw in some new vocabulary there. We might refer to it as company culture or business personality. So if you hear those words, company culture or business personality, tell the alarms in your head that they don't need to go off, because all they're saying is big business messaging. So hopefully now you feel more empowered when you hear that. You're like, I know what that is. So how do I actually talk about my business? A lot of business owners don't understand how to talk about themselves, which is why People hire me, right? They hire someone like me to ask them questions, talk to them, find out what their stories are and what their voice sounds like so that I can write for them to start. A lot of times when I give clients something back, they look at it and they're like, oh, this sounds more like me than when I write. And that's because I don't have all the inhibitions they have when they're trying to write as themselves. They're like that self-doubt comes in. I don't have any of that. I hear you. I write the way you sound. I include all your awesomeness and then I give it back to you. And it's so empowering for them because they're like, oh, I actually sound like I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, you do know what you're doing. You were just in your head about it. And that's why I come alongside. So next, when I'm working with someone on their business messaging, I make a list of phrases they use and the attitudes they have. And I also make a list of phrases and attitudes they wouldn't want to use so that when they bring new people into their business, which they should do if they're growing, right? Then those additional staff members can write business copy that sounds like the business. I used an industry specific word there. So let me explain. I said copy. And I just want you to understand as a basis that copy is any piece of writing that shows up for your business. In journalism, the words that make up the articles are called copy. In professional places, business copy is made out of the words you use to describe what you do, how you help, so on and so forth. In the business world, the person who writes the copy is called a copywriter. And when someone is writing copy for your business, they need to make sure it sounds the same. A messaging report is a document that an experienced business messaging expert can create for you and anyone in your company. And it's a guide on how to consistently write for your brand. I have written so many of these reports over the last few years. Now I do a condensed version where it's part of my do it with you service or my do it for you service. And I just want you to know this is one of the two changes you need to make. If you do not already have some kind of business messaging report or document or whatever that helps you and anyone else on your team sound consistent, you need to make that change right now. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is how important consistency is and why we need to pay attention to it. But before we do that, I would love to hear from you. And I know it can be hard to think about your own business, so let's think about someone else's business. Have you ever noticed that a brand sounded one way, another, like the first time you read something from them, and then another way the second time you read something from them? Drop it in the comments if you've experienced that, because it is something that erodes trust dramatically, and I don't want that for you or your business. So make sure you leave a comment and let me know. Have you ever noticed inconsistencies in brand messaging, and how did that make you feel? So let's talk about consistency. Consistency is the basis of all trust. This is something that was drilled into my head when I was going through copy editing, my copy editing certification program at UCSD. And without trust, no one is going to hire you or your team. For writers, it's important because if you don't stay consistent, people will just like drop your book. If they don't trust you, they're not going to read your book. So now that you know what business messaging means, we can talk about the questions you should ask yourself about it regarding consistency. Let's do this. So should your business voice, aka your messaging, sound like you? This is a question a lot of business owners ask me, and it's a good one. So when your business voice needs to sound authentic, it will be easiest for it to sound that way if it's similar to you. That does not mean that it needs to sound exactly like you. For example, my business messaging is super empathetic. I am generally empathetic as a person, but in real life, well, it's all real. But for me, like as a person, as an independent soul, I'm a tiny bit more edgy than my business persona because I am pretty straightforward and really transparent. And I've worked with more and more business owners, and that's changed my persona a little bit because I realized that it benefits me in my business persona to be a little bit more straightforward, but I'm not as straightforward as I would be, like, let's say if I was just talking to my husband or one of my friends, because we need that little buffer of, okay, Kristen's here to take care of you, right? That's why people like working with me, because of that part of myself. So I emphasize that in my business messaging. And the key is, for me to always sound that way and not to jump up or jump down. There are moments when you can go outside of your business voice, but you really need to be careful and work with an experienced copywriter when you're going to do that, because you don't want to alienate all the people that you've been building trust with for weeks, months, years, etc. So should your business messaging be an exact match for your personality? The best way to decide how your personal brand should adjust based on your way of communicating is to think about what kind of branding the people who need your help actually want to hear, actually need to hear. That doesn't mean that if you're an easygoing person that you switch to yelling because you're like, oh, I need to be an authoritarian type personality for my business. No, that's not going to help you because it's going to make you exhausted. You can communicate the same messages in a variety of ways. And I'm just giving you that as permission right now. However you are, you can communicate with your business messaging in an effective way without having a certain personality, okay? I have a friend whose business messaging is scattered with adult language, even though she consults for billion-dollar companies. Yes, billion with a B. Why? Because that's part of her personality, but also for the topic she handles in her business, it's vital to be straightforward. In her industry, fluffy language will not help. In some industries, though, it makes sense to have more sensitive language. I have another friend who helps people overcome anxiety, and her business wouldn't benefit from super punchy language because the people who need her help are already stressed out. So she's going to have a calm voice. She's going to have an encouraging demeanor. She's not going to be like this because the people are going to be like, no, I don't know what to do. So feel free to make your business messaging sound like you, but also keep in mind that specific services and products need special consideration, and you need to be able to consistently draw that line of that business personality. So does your business messaging match the kind of interaction that your ideal customers need? If not, that needs to change right now. And that brings us to the second thing that you need to change immediately if you're not already doing this in your business. So I'm not saying, let me clarify, I'm not saying that you should change your personality to attract certain people because, like I said, that's going to exhaust you because you're going to be pretending when you're working with people, and that's not good. But subtle language shifts are much different than over-the-top persona shifts that you create to target people you think you want to work with. If your business messaging reflects a majority of your personality, you'll attract people who want to work with someone like you. Being yourself is far less tiresome than putting on a thick persona that will attract people you find absolutely exhausting to work with. So, do you have any questions about business messaging? Let me know in the comments and I will respond to it as soon as I can. And I wanted to tell you that if you are like, Kristen, I need help with my business messaging, I have a resource that you can use right now. If you follow the link below for my complimentary masterclass, it will teach you how to form the one big sentence that you can base all of your messaging off of. And make sure if you liked what I talk about in this video, you subscribe because I'm coming out with new videos every single week. It is vital for you to remember this, friend. My business friend, your business story matters. Talk to you soon.